How you doing? It's Mitch from Hard Intentions YouTube channel. We also have hardintentions.com, which is our website. You can check out our T-shirts, beanies, hats, art, all that good stuff. Stickers. We've got some cool stuff, so check it out. Even if you just browse and look. I was talking to somebody about jailhouse religion, the other day. And I thought I'd do a video on it. Guys that go to, jailhouse religion gets a bad rap a lot of times because, everyone says, oh, that shit's phony, and guys go to jail, and, they're over there faking it in the chapels and this and that. And, it kind of reminds me of a saying, I don't know who said it, either Mother Teresa or one of those guys, one of those people says, people are like pigs, man. When they're hungry, they start squealing, and it said people are like the same way when it comes to God or a higher power. They said that when things are going bad, that's when they start crying for God to help them out. Kind of like when a pig's hungry, he starts squealing. When things are good, the pig don't squeal. He just goes along with it. And people are the same way, when things are good and, they forget all about God and their higher power, and they don't do a lot of crying to them. So, kind of, you see guys in prison, man, they're same way, you know what I'm saying? Some guys are serious about it, and, the guys that are serious about it, they're not the ones like, I used to see guys like this one dude, he used to have like little Bible studies in the day room. He's a Protestant type Christian dude, and that's not my cup of tea. I used to go to the Roman Catholic service in prison, and out here I go to a Russian Orthodox church. But so this guy'd be in the day room, doing Bible studies with these lames, and it was like they're broadcasting, hey, please don't bother me, I'm doing this. And, but the same dude, man, I knew him at this prison. He was an all right guy. I'm like, yeah, whatever, it's not my cup of tea, but that's what he was doing. And then later on, he came to San Quentin. And, I moved the dude in my cell because I thought, he's all right. My cellie went home. And that's when I was smuggling tobacco, and I thought, the dude's kind of strange, but I didn't really think he was a great dude or a great, gangster type dude, but I didn't think he was a rat, or I just figured, hey, he's going to chapel, doing his thing. Be all right to have for a cellie, And so then I found out that prior to coming to San Quentin, the prison that I knew him in, he was started messing around with that speed, and he got in debt, and he got in trouble. I found this out later. I did hear about him, using the speed and shit, and we had a conversation about, being saved and all that stuff. And I said, hey, man, it's, that's salvation. You can give that up. He says, oh, no, once you're saved, you're always saved. And kept going back and forth with this conversation. And I said, hey, check this out, man. As soon as you stuck that needle in your arm, started shooting speed, you turned your back on Jesus. And the guy just looked at me, man. He put his head down, and later on, he goes, whenever we have these discussions about faith and the church and different stuff, he goes, I get really upset, and then I'll research it and find out that you're right. And that makes him even more upset, I think. But, he ended up telling on me, so he could get a transfer back to some other prison, and he got a big boombox radio, and the guy told on me. He started hating on me, I guess. I don't know. But to me, that's the type of dude, he's a phony, as opposed to, I knew a dude in Lancaster, he was on D yard, and came over to A yard, and he was a chapel clerk, he's a Muslim dude, and so his office is in the chapel, and when he was on D Yard, his people were bringing knives and drugs and hiding them in the chapel, and he told them, "Hey man, fuck that. You got to get that stuff out of here. That's not what we're about, and that ain't what this chapel's for." And I guess he really got on him about it. I think his name was Daoud, and they ended up beating him down and stabbing him, almost killed him, because he was very insistent upon this chapel's not for that. This chapel's for religious worship and all that stuff. And yeah, they beat him up and stabbed him. He lived, obviously, because I seen him after that. That's when I met him. But so there's two diametrically opposed examples of what guys who are involved with different faith practices, their behaviors. The guys who just do their thing, go to chapel like me. I used to go to chapel. I didn't change my program. That just enhanced my program. And I quit getting loaded in 97, 98. And that's when I started checking out the chapel around 98. And, I stuck with it till I got out. And I do it out here, except for the COVID's kind of shutting everything down. My program hasn't changed, but I remember a cop in Donovan said, man, every day when they release guys out of R&R, he always has like a trash can full of Bibles. I'm like, man, you serious? He goes, yeah. These guys, they're running around the yard with their Bible in their hand and, broadcasting, the Bible goes in the trash and, the needle goes in the arm as soon as they get out. So, that's it's kind of messed up, But, my thing was, if you're going to do it right. And so I did my research and, decided this is what I'm going to do. And I did it right. I practiced it right. And there are other guys in there that do that. There was a guy back in the 80s, man. He was hooked up and he actually killed somebody in prison. And, Fred quit. He didn't tell, he didn't snitch, nothing. He just said, hey, I'm done. And they transferred him over to Vacaville, and he was heavily involved with the chapel. He wasn't like, rub it in your face kind of stuff, but that's what he did. And he got out. And he's still doing it to this day. He's involved with different ministries on the street. So, and that's been, from the 80s till now, at least 40 years, that's a long time to be, doing it right. And, he puts his money, where his faith is, man. I mean, he's been there for other people that had life sentences, trying to get out of prison. He's been there for them. He's helped them, and he's quite a guy. Yeah, I mean, it's like the guys who say they don't believe in anything. I think they do believe in stuff. It's just that they don't feel like cowing down to any faith or religious practice, So, yeah, and then later on, you see him like one dude he paroled from Soledad. He was involved with the Odin stuff. He didn't actually go to their services or whatever you want to call it, but he had all the Odin tattoos and the Viking stuff, and then always talking bad about the church stuff, and he paroled to a Protestant Christian discipleship transitional housing type thing, and ended up this tough guy, Mr. Viking Odin, F the Christians, all that kind of stuff. He writes back like 4 or 5 months later, this program has him praying 2 or 3 times a day, going to chapel, doing all this stuff, and he's like, yeah, I'm a Christian now and all this stuff. Here's this guy who was talking all that smack in prison, running around as Mr. Odin. And when he got out, he became a Christian and all that stuff. So what was he really while he was in prison? I'm not saying anything bad about a guy becoming a Christian or any of that stuff. I'm saying, why didn't he do it in prison? you know, maybe his fear kept him from being what he really wanted to do, right? So, you can tell the phony types. You can tell. I mean, there's guys that were involved with the chapel, and they were using the chapel like in San Quentin for, nefarious shit like smuggling stuff in, especially with the tobacco. They had some little bit of corruption going on there, and these guys are living in the chapel, acting holier now, and then you know, using it to smuggle stuff in that they could sell, make money, or whatever. To me, that's some bullshit. Um, there's other ways to do things. And them dudes always act like, the chapel's their space. Like, yeah, this is my spot, I always get suspicious of that. Like, the chapel's supposed to be open to everybody, so why are you so guarded about who goes in and out of the chapel, right? If you're seriously about your faith and all that kind of stuff. So everybody does things for different reasons, Um, me, I just don't believe like a lot of guys. There's different cultish type organizations out there that kind of put the thing out there like each man is his own god. That's I don't know. Yeah, I say cultish stuff because that's what it is. And 1 second. Excuse me. Wow. But that's, here's my thing. How can you be your own God when you didn't create yourself? See what I mean? So I just, like in the NA program, different meetings you go to, they say you got to have a higher power. And what I like about that is, everybody would have their own different higher power. And some of them be similar to yours, some of them not. But everybody got in that meeting for the same reason, to stay clean, to straighten their lives out, whatever, and help each other through it. Especially in prison, you could tell the guys are serious about the meetings and stuff because you could tell by their behavior. A lot of guys do it for the board, for the chrono. They're out messing around with dope, or it just shines through. You see it in people's behavior. If somebody's involved with a program and they're serious about it, you can tell in their behavior. Then you had guys like Bruce Davis. Guy ran it down to me like Bruce was a big do-it-yourself Christian type. He was Mr. I'm not big on inmate preachers, and he had his own preacher thing going on, his own service that he ran, little pamphlets he wrote, and all that kind of stuff, and he would go to board and get found suitable for parole, and then the governor would take his date over and over and over. And here's the deal, like somebody said, look, that guy was involved with a Nazi group, then he was involved with Charlie, then he comes to prison and he gets involved with the Christian thing, right? So he's to the board, he's just going from one cult to another, and so what's he going to do when he gets out, he's under the yoke of prison, so I mean, and then of course I heard stories about Tex Watson, one of them Manson guys, and he was worked in the chapel, married the chaplain's daughter, had kids, all that stuff when he was at CMC. But I also heard he used to take, some of the young dudes in the chapel, man, and hit their nuts. So, he was involved with some weird, pervert shit going on in the chapel. And to me, I wasn't at that prison when he was doing that. I've never seen that dude. I just heard a lot of stories about it. And I thought, well, that's a smashing offense right there. You smash that dude for that kind of shit. But that was a pretty lax prison, so he got away with that, I guess. And then he ended up getting transferred over to Mill Creek PC yard later on. And he was a poster child for taking our family visits away because they said he went to prison for these Manson murders and married a chaplain's daughter, had a bunch of kids, they're on welfare, all that kind of shit. So, I mean, guys they try to manipulate their religious practices for their own gain. Those are two famous guys, but Guys did it all the time. They get ready to go to board. They try to get chronos from the chaplains, saying what great guys they are and all that kind of stuff. And I never really did that. I didn't. I thought, my faith is my own. I'm not going to use my faith to impress the parole board to convince them to let me out. And I never did. I mean, they'd mention, hey, you got a chrono here from this person or that person. I'm like, yeah, whatever. Because I want to get paroled on my own merits. But a lot of guys are unscrupulous, man. They'll get, laudatory general information chrono. It's a piece of paper, has information on it that, anyway, it's in your file. The board sees it. So that's what they would do. And I wasn't down with that, and in the end, I ended up getting paroled on my own merits. So, there are guys, and like I said, you can spot them, a mile away, But, the guys that don't believe in anything, a lot of them I think they do believe, but they're just pissed off. They blame God or whatever kind of higher power. They blame him for their shortcomings in life, and I never did that. I figured, I'd get help from God on His own terms and His own time, and I did. I'm out, I'm out of prison. I'm off parole, and I'm living a decent life. So, to me, that would not be possible without help from my higher power. So, I fully believe that. It's for me, faith is a two-way street. They say, God opens doors for you, but it's up to you to recognize which doors are opened by, by God, your higher power, or whatever, and it's up to you to walk through them and do the right thing. Your actions coincide with His actions. That's kind of how I see it. It's not just I'm going to pray today and you're going to help me tomorrow. I don't have to do any work. I don't believe that. So, anyways, there was other guy, Gator. He was a big famous skater. Turned Christian after he killed some girl. Turned himself in. He's still in prison. Guys used to spit on him, and then finally some guys try to stab him. He might be walking his faith, but he's still got to pay the consequences of what he did. Like he used to go to the weight pile when I was in Donovan in the '90s. He was there. I used to go to the weight pile. My homeboy Nick went up to him, spit a big old loogie in his face, told him get off the weight pile, and he wouldn't let him on the weight pile because of what he did. He didn't care about his faith or if he changed. I mean, prison's a harsh place, so if you got a messed up case, guys, they don't care if you've changed your behavior. They're gonna get you. So yeah, but I think he was probably living his faith genuinely. I mean, the guy turned himself in and fessed up to what he did. So that's a pretty big thing to do. Hey, here's my thing. Being involved with religious practices, having faith in some higher power of greater than yourself. All it did for me was enhance my life. It didn't change me as a person. I still went to the yard. I still did the same things. Went out the yard, played handball, softball, whatever, mingled with people. I never changed, I think it just enhanced my life. It's not, and people can mumble behind your back about what you're doing, but that's okay, as long as they don't put their hands on you, or say things, that you just can't live with. I have a saying. I had a T-shirt pattern. My friend Bobby's got over. It says, meek don't mean weak, right? So just keep that in mind. When you're, especially you youngsters, when you're out there and your homeboys are trying to suck you into some criminal behavior that could lead to prison, trust and believe eventually it will take you to prison, because no one gets away with shit forever, especially youngsters. It's a hard game, man. So there are alternatives, and there are people like, Father Greg Boyle down there in LA. He helps a lot of the youngsters get out of that gang life, or hopefully, before they even get involved with it. There are groups of people out there, faith-based organizations that, like Snow Rock's involved with, down in San Diego. They'll help people out. They'll help you out. They'll help give you some guidance in life. Uh, you know, whatever your higher power is, man, trust in it. When I got busted with the tobacco selling, my mentality was, hey, it's just tobacco, it's legal, but I was violating the rules of the prison, man. And they're always concerned with how'd you get it in? Did you corrupt somebody or whatever? I got busted, I went to Soledad, and there was a guy there. I went to board, got 5-year denial, but we're talking about it, and he goes, Smiley, the reason that happened was you didn't put your faith, you didn't turn your life and your will over to your higher power 100%. And I says, you're absolutely right. I was still dependent on my own merits, to get through. And from that point on, I just kind of turned it over, and things worked out, and then here I am. So, and it's nothing short of a miracle to me. So, don't let no one, if you have ideas of getting involved with some kind of faith-based program, whatever it is, I knew dudes in there that they were serious about their Indian sweat lodge, Native American sweat lodge. There were some other guys that were serious about their Odinism. And my thing was, at least they believed in something, right? So that beats not believing in anything. So, whatever it is you're going to do it, and do it hard, and do it right. And don't follow the lead of some phony ass dude who's faking. And if they're faking, you're going to know they're faking. Yeah. Don't be shy, and don't be afraid. Oops, look at that. Yeah, somebody's speaking to me. Yeah, anyways, I just wanted to make a short video on that and kind of touch on it briefly, I'm going to have to cut out, so it's nice talking to you. Remember, whatever it is you do it right, do it hard. Thank you.